Hi, welcome to Give Me the Bible, where God's Word speaks for itself. We've been talking about elders and deacons, and I mentioned in one of the videos that we need to appoint elders and appoint deacons. And the question is, how does that process work? Who specifically appoints them? Well, notice Acts chapter 6 with me. Notice what happened there. Remember when they appointed deacons. Notice what the apostles said to the church, to the congregation, the local congregation that was meeting in Jerusalem. In Acts chapter 6, no, I thought I was there. Acts 6, and notice verse 3. Therefore, brethren, select from among you 7 men of good reputation, full of the Spirit and of wisdom, whom we may put in charge of this task. So there the apostles are actually putting it on the congregation and saying, you all select from among you men who will be deacons. Now, even though there's not a passage that specifically says that a local congregation is supposed to select its own elders, I believe that's exactly how to appoint elders as well. Now, it may throw us a little bit because you'll have verses like Acts 14 and verse 23. Notice that. We've read this before. Acts 14, verse 23. And this talks about the apostles, okay? It talks about Paul, and it talks about Barnabas, who he brought along with him. And he says in verse 23, when they had appointed elders for them in every church, having prayed with fasting, they commended them to the Lord in whom they had believed. Now here it looks like Paul and Barnabas just waltzed into these churches and just selected men to be elders and appointed elders without any sort of consideration or asking the congregation what they thought about the appointment. And I just don't think that that's what's going on here at all. I think when it talks about Paul and Barnabas appointing elders for them, I think it just means that they went around to these cities and facilitated the process of selecting elders. They went around and said, hey, listen, we're here to help you all go through this process, to help you all establish elders among you. And that's exactly what they did. The congregations would have talked with Paul. Paul would have talked with the congregations about who they thought were most qualified to be elders, and they would have appointed them. I believe that's exactly what's going on here. And doesn't that make perfect sense? That if an eldership, or that if a congregation is going to have elders and deacons, elders who rule over them spiritually and are their spiritual guides, and deacons who labor among them and do specific tasks that are assigned to them of a physical nature, doesn't it make sense that these are people that the congregation are going to have to trust? That the congregation themselves are going to have to select and voluntarily appoint these men and say, yes, we will submit to these elders. Yes, we will work with these deacons. I think that makes perfect sense. And I think that also explains why what I said in one of the previous videos is true as well, that an eldership, when it is appointed, is only to rule over that specific local congregation to which it was appointed. I mean, imagine if an eldership from one local congregation went over here to this other local congregation and tried to rule over them as well. Well, the problem is this local congregation doesn't know this eldership. They don't know who they are. They don't know if they really meet the qualifications set forth in 1 Timothy 3 and Titus 1. That's why elders are, I believe, appointed by the congregation, and they rule only over that specific local congregation that they were appointed by. All right, that's where this trouble comes in with the hierarchy of elders ruling over multiple local congregations, because those congregations don't know those elders, and that's not fair to them. That doesn't make any sense that they would actually submit to those elders when they don't even know if they're qualified to be elders or not. Now the question is, then, if the congregation is supposed to appoint these elders and appoint these deacons, what process do they go through? Well, honestly, the Bible doesn't give us a specific process to follow. However, let me suggest that it's not a political election. You know, it's not a majority rule. Okay, you know, 200 people said that this elder is qualified, but 50 of them said that he wasn't, and so he wins by majority count. No, that's not at all true. If that's the way it's set up, I guarantee that congregation is going to have problems. Okay, you want to make sure that that's unanimous, that the congregation is in agreement, that here is a man who is qualified for this position, and here is a man that we are all together willing to work with, willing to submit to in whatever capacity is required. And however the congregation goes about doing that, it is completely up to them. God doesn't really lay out, here's the specific process. He just gives the qualifications and expects each congregation to come to its own decision in regards to its appointment. I hope that's helpful, and Lord willing, I'll see you next time.